Okay. All right. Hello. Welcome, Brenda. This is Clif Chats. I'm Clifford Kaufman. I'm a percussionist and educator in Nashville. And today, Brenda Myers is joining me from the other coast, from California. And Brenda Myers holds a music performance degree from CSU Fresno, and also received her teaching credential from Fresno Pacific University, and after that received her master's in West African Caribbean music and culture, and has been teaching since 1976, and started a group called We've Got the Beat, which we're going to talk all about Brenda's teaching career, her experience with learning music from various cultures, and really we can talk about anything. If anyone has any comments or questions, feel free to join in. Uh, Welcome, Brenda. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you, Cliff. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Uh, well, so you've been teaching a really long time, and I'm just curious. When did your interest in teaching start?
I think I was a born teacher. I had a friend in elementary school when we were growing up together, and we would go to school all day, come home, and play school. And we would take turns teaching each other, and we had a desk, and we had the teacher glasses, and we had the whole thing, and we would just play school. And so I think I loved teaching. I loved sharing whatever I knew with somebody else. So as I got older, um, uh, I didn't really think about it, didn't really think about that aspect of my life. But I had a friend who had a son that was, when I was just graduating from high school, he had a son who was like 9 years old. And he wanted to learn drums, and he said, I want you to teach him. And that was kind of the beginning of it. I kind of learned how to teach by teaching him. And I taught him what I knew, and he taught me how to teach better. And I was lucky. He was a naturally gifted kid, and so he made me look good. So it gave me confidence that I could do it. And then from there, my teaching, my private studio grew from his success at honor bands and things like that. Other families started calling and wanted me to teach their kids. And that's what I did for a long time.
So after years of teaching, what is it that are there certain things that you recognize in a student that shows you that there's some potential for them to really stick with it and to take it to a high level?
I think the naturally gifted ones show themselves right away.
What is it about them that they show, or what is it that you see?
You share something with them and they get it right away, and they're able to play it back. And then the really gifted ones actually play it back with feel, with the right, they just understand. So there's those kids, there's that level there. But I think the most fun for me is the kids that struggle. The kids, when you first get them, you go, what am I going to do with this guy or this girl? What am I going to do with them? They don't get it. But they keep coming. And so you keep giving them, you keep trying. And sometimes you have to try a lot of different ways to help them. You have to find the path. You have to find the way into them. And I think for me, that's probably even the more exciting part. I mean, it's always great to have a talented student do well, but it's those ones that weren't the talented ones, but end up, because of their hard work and their dedication and their stick-to-itiveness, they have a level of success. Maybe not at the very highest level, but some of them come pretty close to that. But then it's all about their hard work and their stick-to-itiveness and their love. There's something that happens to them when this touches somebody really deep inside. That's just really fun for me to see that happen.
Yeah, definitely. So do you find that the students that are really talented are the students that really stick with it, who are just passionate, is a word I would use?
Yep.
Do you find that the passionate students who maybe aren't the most talented are more likely to be playing 10, 20 years down the road?
Oftentimes that is the case. Sometimes talented students can lose interest. And sometimes a student that's talented in music is also talented in other areas of the arts. And so I've had some students that just keep bouncing around from one medium to another. They're doing video work or photography or art, painting, or they're doing, and they play drums on the side, or they play, they play for their church, or they do something maybe a little bit, but they, for a long time, they just kept kind of going around in this circle, doing this and then that and then the other, and and different people make a life of it, of art. They make a place for it in their lives. And sometimes the super talented ones do something else for work during the day, and then this is their play. Because it comes so naturally to them, they don't have to work at it to be able to play with a pretty high level people. And so that's what I found is everybody's different, and I can't project onto anybody what they're going to become. What I want to do, hopefully, is give them good experiences and truth about what it does take, and give them that, and they can do with that what they want.
Yeah. Talking of talented students, Taku, who is one of your students, Taku Hiranu, who I interviewed about a month ago, and how he introduced me to you. He says hi, so he's on here. Hey, Taku.
Hey, Taku. Yeah, Taku. He's another one, makes me look good. And that shirt I had on that said "Try and keep up." That's a Taku shirt.
Oh, okay.
So that's Taku vertically.
Oh,
and then try and keep up. I think one of his buddies came up with that for him. But and that's part of his shirt design. I love wearing that because it's a message to my students. It's like they're tired, they want to sit down, they want to whatever, and I'm like, hey, try and keep up with this. And so it's a great shirt. So, but Taku's been great, and I appreciate his friendship in addition to the student that he is and the performer that he is.
Yeah. When you are teaching and the students are really tired and showing that, there's not as much energy, what are some things you do to engage them and get them going?
Well, we just maybe do an upbeat song, like with "We Got the Beat," especially. Just if they're really having a hard time with something, or they're just they're tired. All I have to do is call up a song that I know they like. Boom, energy's back.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm not gonna yell at them for playing wrong or stop them or anything. We're just gonna play. Let's just play and have fun.
Yeah.
And we've worked hard today. Your brains are fried. I understand. That's all good. So let's just have fun. And
Tell us about "We Got the Beat." How did it originate? How did the name come about? I mean, I know the song "We Got the Beat." Yeah, and tell
yeah,
us about it.
well, "We Got the Beat" came out of me seeing a group called the Fabulous Leopards, which is an elementary percussion group out of Louisville, Kentucky.
Okay.
And
Are they still around?
they're definitely still around.
Okay.
Oh
'Cause
yeah,
I'm in Nashville, so I'm not that far. I need to check them out.
right.
Yeah.
I'm surprised. Yeah. They're now called the Louisville Leopards.
Okay.
That's what they're called now. And
Mhm.
yeah, if I can push somebody onto your program, you should interview their director, Diane Downs,
Okay.
because she's she's another level. She's awesome.
I'm always looking for people to talk with, so that'd be great.
She's a great one. She's a great educator. I have learned a ton about educating young students through her.
Uh-huh.
So, We Got the Beat is, I call it a youth percussion band, and we play classic rock, Latin, and jazz songs on marimbas, vibes, and xylophones, and then drum set, timbales, congas, Brazilian instruments, whatever, Caribbean, calypso, all of that kind of stuff.
Mm.
And but I saw they were called the Fabulous Leopards at the time, at a percussive arts convention.
Yeah.
So I didn't know they were going to be there. I just happened to be there and saw them play, and it was jaw dropping. I had never, at the time I was teaching junior high and high school, I had performance groups and all that kind of stuff. Never seen anything like this. And just the looks on the kids' faces and the way they played, the passion they played with, and the accuracy they played with on the songs that they were playing. But they were kids, I mean, they were goofing around too, they're doing that second and third graders do for the primary group, and fourth and fifth graders were a little more professional.
Mm-hmm.
But those young guys, they just kind of stole my heart, because they were real kids. But they were doing this music, and they were playing their guts out. And so I found her after they performed and asked her a ton of questions, and kind of tried to actually convince her to move to California and be my feeder program. She would teach elementary, and then I would take them to junior high and high school, and we'd have this incredible program.
Mm-hmm.
But she wasn't willing to do that. So another year later, I said, what about doing a 1-week camp? Just come out to California and teach kids out here what you teach your kids. And so she agreed to do it. It took a little while, it took some convincing, but she agreed to do it as long as she could bring one of her students, a fifth grader, out with her, because the fifth grader remembered the parts better, she said, than she did.
Wow.
So she did. She brought her student out, and we had like 15 kids in one group, and then 15 kids, like 15 third and fourth graders, and 15 fifth and sixth graders coming at different times. And in one day, she taught those kids enough material that I would have been thrilled if it had been a week. That at the end of the week, they could do that much, I would have been thrilled. And that's how fast her teaching process worked. And it's all word phrases, oral teaching, no music, no written sheet music, which at the time, you had to give me a piece of sheet music or I was dead in the water.
Mm-hmm.
So, but she had the method to teach them, and it was like basically show and tell and have them play back, and one step at a time, and just give them the information they need for this moment. And it was fascinating. And I thought, well, that was great. And the kids were all excited. And I thought, we'll have Diane back. I'll see if she'll come back next year. We'll do a camp every summer and get kids excited to come into my program in junior high and high school.
Mm-hmm.
And I had 7 families who said, no, Brenda, you have to keep this going.
Mm-hmm.
You have to do this. My kids don't want to stop. You have to do this all year. And I'm like, I don't do this. I don't even know how to teach this way. And so, but they wouldn't let me off the hook. And so I did agree to let me talk with my band director and my principal to see if there's any way we can work this out. Because we'd have to use the junior high and high school instruments with these elementary kids that were going to come. Everybody approved of everything. It's like I was hoping somebody would give me a reason to not do this, but they would not. So I said, okay, fine. I sat the kids down the first day and I said, look, you don't really know how to play, and I don't really know how to teach this way. So we're just going to learn this together. I'm going to teach the way I see Diane teaching, and hopefully you're going to get it, and we're going to work together. And we did with those 7 kids. And so what we did, we took those 7 kids, and I had one kid who could play Wipeout on the drum set as a 5th grader. His brother had taught him how to do that and how to play basic drum set. So we had our drummer, we had like a real good drummer. The other kids learned that, took that, hey, I can play, if he can do it, I can do it kind of attitude. And so, so several kids played drum set, but he was the Wipeout drummer. So we had that going for us. And so by Christmas time, we learned Jingle Bells. We had one Christmas tune. And so we played our tunes and Jingle Bells. And I said, look, let's go. How about we go to your schools and we find out if we can play before your Christmas programs that you're going to give. Like while the parents are sitting there waiting for the program to begin, we'll play. So the school said yes. So we went around and played, and we had flyers for our camp for next year and all that. So by doing
Smart
that,
marketing.
and then we did marketing, exactly. And then we took them out for a school tour in the spring, where they could play assemblies for their friends at school. We went from having 30 kids at the first camp to having 60 kids at the next camp, but I had 30 waiting on a wait list, and I couldn't figure out how to get them in. And so the group went from 7 kids in the first year to 21 kids in the second year. And by that end of that first year, it was just, there was a lot of other things going on, but it was just time for me to leave the school system and just take this group and go with it. And so, so that's what we did. And then, and there was a church at the time that was starting this, it was a music school. Basically it was a collection of private teachers. The church would offer space for you to teach. And so, when I called the director and said, I've got a group of 21 kids and percussion instruments and all this kind of stuff. The other good thing about that church, well, first of all, I grew up there, which was really, really nice because they knew who I was. The other thing was they had a marimba, vibes, xylophone, bells, congas that we could use.
Oh, yeah.
And we needed like a basic set of instruments. I had some old ancient, marimbas and vibes and xylophones that I had collected, but they were all kind of small. And these were full-size instruments. So we had like a basic setup of those instruments plus mine. And so that church housed us for 14 years. Took us under their wing, let us be there, let us make all kinds of noise and mess up their walls by accidentally bumping into them and all this kind of stuff. So, I mean, it was just a huge blessing to have some kind of support like that.
Yeah. When you had a wait list, at that point, did you feel like I'm in the right place at the right time?
No, I mean, I really didn't. I had a parent, I'll never forget, after our second camp, well, Brenda, what's your 5-year plan? And I'm like, I don't have a 5-year plan. I have this plan for the camp, and we'll go and we'll, at the time I didn't know where we were going to go the following year. And I said, I don't know. I really don't know. I didn't know. I did not see what's happened in these last 20 years. Did not see it coming.
And it sounds like you really created a culture with the students where they were inspiring each other and really feeding off of each other. Can you talk more about different approaches that you use that help create that or cultivate that?
Just empowering them, just by saying, look, some of you are more gifted at certain areas of music than I am, even though I've been around a long time. Some of you have a better ear than I do. Some of you catch on quicker than I do. So I'm going to need your help, just by like giving them permission to be teachers. That empowers them. And so, and they're happy. For the most part, they're happy to help each other. Occasionally you get the kid that doesn't want any help. But and we just let them be who they are. There's no, if you don't want help, that's okay. We'll just keep at it. We'll keep showing you what it is, or whatever, keep playing the song, keep coming, and you'll get better, you'll learn. But for the most part, the kids like to have the opportunity to help each other out. And they take that education. But yeah, it's all about letting them know that they have the ability. They already have the ability to help. But once you learn something, just show what you learned to your neighbor. And that's one thing that's been bad about COVID, is we can't really do that. But yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it. Just letting the kids know that you can do this.
Yeah. Your learning, your process, and how you got to where you are with your the interest in different music from various cultures. How did that evolve, and also how did you, it sounds like maybe you didn't start learning orally, so how did you eventually move into that world and also teaching orally? Or maybe you did start learning orally, I don't know.
I would say that my first real attempts at learning orally was teaching this group, and deciding, okay, I'm not going to use music. I'm not going to use written music. I'm going to learn these songs, and I'm going to teach that way. And that was really hard. The first couple of years of that was just like, but it was necessary, because in order for the songs to sound real, it's best if you can just do it by listening.
It's a different sort of learning. I tell people now,
pardon?
It's a different sort of learning to learn by ear. Yeah.
Music should be learned by ear. I tell people, when you go to a concert, do you say, even musicians, if you're going to play a concert, an orchestra, the musicians don't say, oh, hey, we're going to go read a concert tonight. No, we're going to go play a concert. You have music there to remind you of what the notes are and rhythms and all that kind of stuff if you need it. But, most great musicians have their music memorized. And the written music there is just, I don't know, just window dressing, or they don't really need to have it.
Yeah.
Because they're listening all the time. So, like, I'll tell you, I mean, I came out of the school system, which was read, read, read. And if you can't read, then you're illiterate, and, you're made to feel bad about that. And I was bought into that, hook, line, and sinker, man. I was all about that. I will say this, in the last few years of my school teaching, was my first year of, I went to this camp called Jazz Camp West. And because Jerry Steinholtz, which we had talked about off air, had gotten me interested in Afro-Cuban and Brazilian playing. And so I was sharing that with my kids in the school system. Whatever I learned, I was showing them. And then I found about this camp called Jazz Camp West, and John Santos teaches there. Who's a pretty famous West Coast percussionist, Afro-Cuban, and historian. So I learned I went to that camp and I learned how, from him. And so that was my first real like playing and learning from ear. They don't
Uh-huh.
give you music there either. Learning by ear and then taking that back to the kids. And I started what I called this ethnic ensemble. And so we would learn these different rhythms, and it was all by listening and looking, watching and playing and copying, and then putting our parts together. And the goal for me at that time was to be able to play these different styles and go accompany elementary school choirs that were singing African songs or a Latin song or something like that. And we would come in and be their accompaniment.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was already doing that in the school system. So when I just came out to do We Got the Beat, it was just more of the same of doing that kind of stuff. And then I just started finding out more about, once I went to that camp, then my name got on mailing lists, right, for other camps. And I started hearing about other camps that were happening. And so started attending those, and those, taught me more and more stuff. And again, that's all oral teaching. They don't hand you a sheet of music and go, here's the patterns we're learning this week. You have to listen and, do what you have to do to remember them.
Yeah. Yeah, the what you're saying about oral learning and teaching, I relate a lot to it because I started studying with my first teachers were African teachers that where I started learning that. Where before that, like I didn't come up in school band and that sort of thing, but I learned how to read from a drumming teacher and that sort of thing. And it's just I feel like I didn't start to learn musicality until the learning orally and like really, because I was maybe in garage bands, but not always opportunities to play, reading music with other people. So it's interesting that so you sounds like you started to learn orally and it was eventual that you brought that in. Well, not eventual. You started to bring that in as soon as you started learning it. It sounds like.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, I did. Well, what I noticed though, this little ethnic ensemble that I ran, they became better friends. They were more cooperative with each other. And I came out of my last 10 years of teaching. I was in a very competitive school district, and so everything was about competition. And so these kids, they grew up in that, and they were very competitive with each other. But when they started playing in this ethnic ensemble, they became cooperative with each other, much more so than they were before. And I started noticing those things. The other thing I noticed was sometimes my best players were not my best readers, and they would get very discouraged. So that, I can't move up because I can't read, but I can play.
mm-hmm.
And I started noticing that kind of stuff. And I thought, man, I've got to figure out a better way.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was experimenting my last few years in the district. I was experimenting with all kinds of ways to help these kids, get a sense of it, a feel, and how to really transition, looking at those dots on the page to the instrument that they were playing. And so, so then to have We Got the Beat, where I didn't have to worry about that with them. And they were younger. At the time I was taking third graders only, third and fourth, starting third grade. So, and I had, my colleagues in the school system were like, uh-oh, Brenda's gone to the dark side. We can't support her group. She's not teaching them how to read. So there's a problem. Well, I had to explain to them, but I'm teaching them how to play. I'm teaching them how to listen. And guess what? I'm teaching them how to take care of percussion instruments. And I'm teaching them how to set up and tear down and how to watch you, the director, and how to do all these things. All you have to add to that is the reading.
Mm-hmm.
And then I had to do some damage work, damage control for my kids, and to let them, hey, they're going to want you to read. Don't freak out about it, because you can play way above what they're going to ask you to read right now. So that's going to give you time to catch up. You just have to learn how to correlate these symbols that you're going to see on the page to the notes that you're already playing. And so, kids, so I try to, ease them in, to it. And I tell the directors, they can play, just give them some time to catch up in the reading. And they do. It doesn't take them long at all.
Yeah.
So
I'm just monitoring the comments through. Shirley Olech. I'm not
Oh
sure.
yeah, Shirley Olick.
Olech. She says hi. Oh, from
Oh,
James. From James.
oh,
James says
James.
hi.
Okay, so James is a current student. He's in 5th grade,
Hey,
and I've had
James.
him since he was in 2nd grade.
Oh, okay.
But I had his brother when back when I was taking 3rd graders. I had his brother. His brother's still in the program at the older level called Beyond the Beat. He's a senior in high school now, but he's also one of my main assistants. He's my main keyboard improvisation guy.
Uh-huh.
And that all happened through his growth in the program. So I'm very, very proud of him. All my assistants right now used to be We Got the Beat students.
Uh-huh.
And what the exception of one was a student of mine from before we got the pre-beater era of my students. But yeah, for the most part, we're all a We Got the Beat driven group now, which is really gratifying.
So anyone who comes through the group then has opportunity to become a leader and teach.
Yeah, like I said, they teach each other as they're growing up anyway. And then when we have our camps, we have once you are out of 5th grade and getting ready to go into 6th grade, you're eligible to come back as a camp teacher and teach like brand new kids. And then once you graduated out of We Got the Beat, whether or not you go on to Beyond the Beat, but if you graduated out of We Got the Beat, then you can come back and help the older kids as well as the younger kids.
Oh, that's great. Diane Down says, "You're so cool, Brenda."
There she is. Same to you, Diane. Same to you.
It's I would think it's very gratifying to keep connections with former students and current students, and that's really cool. And so Taku, what was Taku one of those students where you could recognize the talent right away? I'm guessing he probably was.
Yeah, definitely. He was and he
had the hunger too. Yeah.
He had the hunger and he had the discipline. I mean, as a 5th grader, I had him as a 5th grader. That was my first year with him. He was in my first year of elementary teaching.
Okay.
In the school system. So, I mean, I had never taught, I taught privately, but I'd never taught in a school system before. So it was really great to have him. You need somebody who catches on really quickly. And there were a couple of kids in that group that did. And Taku was one of them. But like I said, he was the most disciplined. So he made the most progress. And he was the easiest to deal with on all of that because he always had his parts down. So, yeah. But Taku and I mean, we became kind of like friends in addition to teacher student. And I started teaching him privately. His parents started having me do private lessons with him as well. But we went to concerts together, went to Buddy Rich together. And,
cool.
Toto came to town and I took him to Toto. And, it was just, we had a lot of fun together.
That's awesome.
So, yeah.
It did, I was gonna ask you something about him. Did, I went blank. Oh, so have you had students where they were maybe challenging to teach, and you didn't feel like you're getting through to them, and then maybe years later, it seems like you did, or maybe it seemed like, wow, they actually really got into music or that sort of thing. Have you had experiences like that as well?
I have. But I would say that the first person that came to mind was a current assistant now. Like I said, the guy that was a pre-beater. In fact, he was in Taku's era. But he was also, I think he was 10 years old. And he was another kid I went, okay, you're gifted, but you're not disciplined. And, he'd never practiced. And he was a great kid and smart. I knew he was smart. So, but one day he came to me and he said, hey, Brenda, I've been reading a book and it's all about the power of imagination. So I'm because I had said, I was again on him, why, how come you didn't practice?
Yeah.
If you only practice, you would know your part by now. And so he says to me, so I'm going to experiment. Instead of like physically practicing, I'm just going to imagine me playing my part and see if it helps. And I'm first of all, I'm like, wow, this guy is amazing.
Practice. Yeah.
And I said, but how are you going to know the difference when you haven't practiced, physically practiced? How are
Uh-huh.
you going to know if that works better than imagination, or if imagination works better, how that's going to work? But I mean, just that kind of sense about him. And he's gone on to do fabulous things. He's a fabulous percussionist, hand percussion guy. He spent several years in Brazil. He lived the life.
Uh-huh.
Was with a flamenco band for I don't know how many years, traveling the world,
Uh-huh.
playing and doing all kinds of stuff. And he just has a curiosity about him. He just always has.
Uh-huh.
And I'm just always happy to have him back, because he's still a childlike attitude,
Uh-huh.
toward life,
Yeah.
and in which I love to have, and he's still curious about things. And so that's just a really great guy to have around. So I've had everything from like him to people. I've had students that they just, they were just sort of a background player for us, and they might have tried to play drum set with us and just never quite got it.
Mm-hmm.
I had this one kid, again, fifth grade. Fifth grade is a big transition period, I think, for kids. Fifth grader comes to me one day and he says, Brenda, I'm going to have to quit. We got the beat. And I said, oh, how come? He said, because the rehearsal's on Wednesday night and my church meets on Wednesday night, and they've asked me to play drums with drum set for them.
Uh-huh.
And I had to be at a rehearsal during We Got the Beat practice. And this is a kid who was never going to play drum set for us. I mean,
Uh-huh.
with barring a miracle. And I went, go do it. I said, this is what I train you for. I train you to be ready to play with people.
Uh-huh.
And they see that in you, and they want you to play. You don't need us. Go play. And he played drums for them for years. And then later I saw him in his high school band, doing marching band and all
Uh-huh.
that. He's still in music in school, but he's been playing for his church all those years. And I'm like, man, that's great.
Yeah.
And it's, for me, churches are a great learning place. That's where I learned a ton about playing and had lots of opportunities to explore different kinds of music. And but they're forgiving for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
They'll work with you. And so I ask my students, if you go to church, I'll tell them, hey, this kid's ready to go. This kid can play, and he can
Mm-hmm.
play with adults. So talk to your church, whoever's in charge of youth programs or whatever, but let them know that this kid can play, and see if you can get them involved. And that's happened quite a bit with my kids, and it makes a huge difference. Once they've been, now I'm the drummer or I'm the percussionist, I'm in this band, it makes a huge difference in their lives.
They're getting different playing experiences, which is
They
really cool.
are. And sometimes they're the guy, right? If they sit in that drum set chair, we talk a lot about that. If you're the drum set player, you got to be the first one to know the song, not the last one in the band to know the song, because you have to lead this band through the tune. So you have to know the tune and then let the band know what's happening next. And you have to play the signals, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so, for some kids, that's really hard. But for those who, put in the work to do it, it's amazing to watch them.
Yeah. How do you, it sounds like you keep things pretty light. How do you keep it light and forgiving, but also push the kids?
That's a good question. It's just about letting them know the importance of what they're doing. People, and now it's people have an expectation of We Got the Beat. They expect us to come out and to play together, and to play like, and know our parts, and, know our songs. They expect us to play like that. And so we can't slack, in practice on that. We have to practice like we're out playing someplace, so that, first of all, I have to be confident that you're going to be able to do it. And so, there's an expectation, number one. But then I've gotten better at this over the years. For a long time, I didn't care. I didn't care if you were getting tired. I didn't care if you just didn't get this or any of that. We're just going to plow ahead. But now I try to monitor the group a little bit and just kind of find, just kind of go, well, they've had their fill for today or whatever. And then we'll just maybe have a little meeting. We'll come and sit, doing a circle and sit and have a meeting. How are you feeling? Or what are you doing? Or we might do some rhythm clapping back and forth, or just sometimes they just want to talk. They just need to talk sometimes. So we do actually start the meeting, start the rehearsal with a meeting. And
every time,
everybody?
Every time you
Pardon?
do. Every time.
We do that every time. How are you doing? Who did something fun, over this last week?
Kind of break the ice.
Try to break the ice. Like before COVID, they could come early and practice and do all this kind of stuff. And they can't do that right now. So they have to come. And if they come early, they have to stand outside on lines 6 feet apart and social distance themselves. And then when they come in, they have to social distance. We have the chairs separated so that, they can only sit so close. So they can talk to each other, and they do, but it's still just different now.
Yeah.
So we just try to give them some time to be social. And then before we go into the practice.
Well, it sounds like a great community that we've got to be has really been the power behind. So right now with COVID, you're doing, the students are learning their parts, they're recording them. You have an assistant who's helping edit them together for videos. Is that correct?
Yeah, her name's McKenna, and she is amazing. She's one of those people that can't do anything halfway. Can't even do anything B, has to be A+ type of work. It's just in her. It's not like she thinks about it. It's just who she is. And so she wanted to learn how to do it better. She had done a little exploration of it on her own. And so she volunteered to be our video producer. I don't even think she realized what it was going to be like to do that.
All the work involved.
Yeah. But for her it's an opportunity to learn.
Yeah. And
so she has taken it on like a champion. And, every video that she's made, has been improved. It's been, she's trying new stuff and doing all this kind of thing that, I can't even imagine. And she's just taking it on. And I love that one of us is doing this for us.
Yeah.
And she's another main assistant. She's been because she's in school in Colorado and we're in California, she's been able to be part of our teaching team because we've been virtual.
Yeah. And
so just this last month, we went back into live practice, in-person practices for those who wanted to. But I have about 5 families in each group that aren't comfortable yet coming back. So McKenna and another one of my assistants who isn't comfortable coming back live, they're continuing the virtual program, while I and Robert are doing the live program. Okay. And so we had to divide the older kids up into 2 groups to make it small enough so everybody could have a place to practice from, because we have the social distance. So it was just small groups, and they all know the mat. You have to have your mask on. We have to sanitize you every time you move. Sanitize the mallets. I have a mom that comes in and helps with all of that. Sanitize the mallets. We're just really careful, and the kids are really good about being careful. They understand the stakes in all of this. And our goal now is to get our songs up and running well enough so that we can go out and play an outdoor gig, socially distanced, by March or April. And so we're starting to scout opportunities to do that.
That's great. Where can we see the videos that you all have been making?
YouTube.
Is it We've Got the Beat YouTube channel?
We Got the Beat. It's not we've.
We got the beat. We Got the Beat. Yeah.
Yeah. And I didn't even like that name at the beginning. No. A friend of mine came up with it. I was saying, we've got the beat, or give me the beat, or I wanted something to do with the beat. My friend goes, what about we got the beat?
Yeah.
And I went, you know, it's grammatically, it's not correct.
There's a flow to it though.
But it is. But I went, okay, that's like, it's better than anything I've come up with. So let's go with that. And then that first group, that 7 kids, I said, if you want to change the name, if you want to change our name, we're not stuck with it. So, you know, if you come up with something better, let me know. And no one did. So we stayed with it.
Yeah.
So
yes. So you've been teaching for many years and you've taught different age groups, and it sounds like you've gravitated towards certain ages, but I'm just curious through the years, if you, for any learners, adult learners to child learners, what are some tips you could give for learning something musical? What are some things you can do to set yourself up for success?
listen to recordings of the kind of music that you want to learn to play. Listen to as many recordings as you can. And if there's a particular instrument that you want to learn, try to zero your listening in on that instrument. You don't have to figure it out. Just listen.
Focus your attention.
Find those, find those sounds within that recording of what it is you want to do. I can't express how important listening is. You know, it's like key to everything, right? You know, because We Got the Beat's not just about music, right? It's about creating an organization where everybody has their job to do, has their part to play in the organization. And in order for that to work well, you have to listen to each other. Well, this is true in life, right? Any organization, the more you can listen to other people and take in their information, and then try to see if you can understand from their perspective what they're doing and where they're coming, it just makes that organization stronger. So yeah, we're trying to teach that through listening to music, but we're listening to each other as well. And I've got second graders that come up with ideas, and I'm just like, I never thought of that. Let's try it and see, you know. And to be allowed to do that as a kid, or anybody in any organization, right? To have the power to voice your opinion or to voice an idea, you know, it just makes them stronger people.
Yeah. And that's
the ultimate.
And it sounds like a key element to what you've been doing is empowerment. It really,
absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
For the kids to feel like they own it, and not that you're just like teaching down to them, that sort of thing.
Right. No, exactly. We're in this together.
Yeah.
We're learning together.
That's great. Eva Viotto, I'm not sure if I'm saying.
Oh yeah.
Says hi, Brenda. It actually says hi, Brenda. It's Timothy Weissner or Wisner.
Yeah, Wisner. Yeah, Timothy is a third grader who is sharp as a tack, and he's got lots of ideas, and they're good ones.
That's awesome.
They're good ideas. So yeah.
Keep going, Timothy. And also Joyce Johnson, she's a student of mine. We've been doing West African percussion together for many years. She's in Portland, Oregon, where I used to be, and she's doing online classes with me right now. But she said, what a great esteem and confidence builder for the kids you teach, to get them on board learning and listening before the nuts and bolts of reading, to show them they can and that they belong. So many of the requirements of our education system are so restrictive with prerequisites like the reading focus, that it keeps kids out who could learn music and be very successful. Fantastic. And she's an educator, a retired educator.
Yeah. And I have to admit, I mean, I was one of those for a long time, and what freedom I felt coming out of that. You know, so unfortunately, not much has changed in that area of music. With outside of some small pockets, but I mean, overall, it's pretty much everything's the same, and that's too bad.
I find that challenge with myself with private students, feeling like because I do a lot of oral teaching the way that I've learned from a lot of my teachers. And I feel like I should be teaching them reading too, and I do some reading, but it is a there's so much time, and so it is a kind of a balancing act with those.
It is, and I'm not, and by any of this, I'm not saying the reading's not important. It is important, but if you make that the main focus too soon, it can turn people away
Definitely.
from music.
Well, it's like Victor Wooten, who's here in Nashville. Are you familiar with him? The
Yes,
virtuoso
he's
bass player.
amazing.
He's amazing, and he's
Yes.
got some cool books too. But he talks about he grew up in a family where he was born into it as a bass player. Like they needed a bass player. He was the youngest brother of 5, I believe. And but he talks about this because I've gotten to be around him a number of times, and he basically like we don't learn to talk. We don't learn by reading. We learn by imitation. We learn by and we don't, when we're learning how to talk, we don't say, no, that's wrong. When a baby, a toddler says something and it's not quite right, we're not, most people are not saying, no, that's not right. There's the freedom to experiment, to try things, and to learn that way. And so I think it's beautiful that you're, that you're teaching this way, and that the kids feel so empowered. Nicole Kohia says, we love We Got the Beat. Kim, I'm not sure how to Rulegi.
Oh, Rulegi. She's the one that came up with We Got the Beat.
Oh, she says, so proud of what you've built in We Got the Beat and Beyond the Beat. And Joyce then said, Joyce, who's I had read earlier, says, you are a valuable small pocket a relationship teacher. Very inspiring.
Thank you.
And I'm not familiar, Joyce, with small pocket a relationship. I haven't heard that before. I
don't know that, but it sounds good.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I mean, I can just tell from everything you're saying that you're a wonderful teacher, and it's inspiring for me as as someone who teaches as well. That there's always more to learn. I had an experience where I thought that I was a good teacher, and I went into a school, and they basically showed me that I didn't know anything. And so it was an interesting experience. It was humbling, which I think is good, because you get to a point where you've been doing it for a long time, and you think these things work, and then you try these things and it's not working. So it's an interesting experience. Have you ever had experiences like that? I mean, it sounds like you have sort of some infrastructure and you have a culture with the kids, but what do you do when things aren't working?
That's hard. I think when things just aren't working, that's when we pull them out. We just sit them in a meeting. What's going on, guys?
Mm-hmm. So you talk about it.
I'm trying to help you, and I'm not doing a very good job of that. I think it's really important for the kids to know I make mistakes.
And so you're owning that you have responsibility.
Yeah, and there are times when kids will say something about you know everything, and it's like, hey, I'll stop it right there and go, I do not know everything. Mm-hmm. I make plenty of mistakes doing this, and I depend on you guys to make me look good when we make mistakes, and then I'm going to try to help you look good, when I can. So I think a lot of it is just being willing to sit down and admit, right, I realize things aren't going well, and I am the leader, so it's my responsibility to make things are going well. And so how can I do that better? Help me out. I had one girl one day, this was a really eye-opening experience. I was on a rant because they weren't playing well, and they didn't seem like they were trying. And I don't remember what I said, but she was out of the blue. And this was one of my quiet girls. She would never say this. She goes, well, maybe if we wouldn't yell at us so much, we'd do better. And I went, okay, is that true? And yeah, mumble, okay, all right, I'm going to try not doing that. I'm going to try to get better at that. And I said to her, the girl's name was Amanda. I said, Amanda, you have the privilege, if I'm getting too intense, if I'm yelling too much, to call me on it. You call me on it. And, it was interesting. That particular group, things got better, right? Our relationship got better. The kids started, doing better. And, it's just one of those things. Just, hey, call me out.
Yeah.
You
Well,
know,
that's
like the
another
other
thing.
day,
Go
yeah, I'm
ahead.
sorry. The other day, I'm in the middle of rehearsal. I realize I do not have a mask on. And I said, you guys, I don't have how long has it been since I had a mask on? And they said, you didn't have it on at the beginning. And I
Mm,
said, tell me.
mm-hmm.
They just didn't, I don't, some of them didn't notice, but the ones
Uh,
that did notice, and I said, you know, I went out and got a mask on immediately. I said, you guys, please, if you see that again, it's not intentional.
yeah.
I just got busy and I forgot. And so you let me know, because I want to wear a mask for you. And I was like, oh, so, you know, it still happens.
Yeah. Well, with COVID, what are some things you've learned that you would then take out of it that you will maybe continue to do, or some changes that you would make?
The first thing was it's possible to teach online and actually do uh, quality teaching and quality learning online. You have to be more patient, and you have to just, you know, trust sometimes that they're getting it.
Mm-hmm.
And what we found was, because at first we didn't know,
Mm-hmm.
you know, because half the kids were acting like they weren't there. I mean, they were not, they were disengaged and they weren't paying attention and all this kind of stuff. And I told I told my assistant, I said, you know what, don't harp on them about it. Just keep giving them the information. Don't take it personally if they don't look like they're giving back to you. Just
Mm-hmm.
let's just move on. And then the goal, the carrot, is that we make these videos. So
Yeah.
they have to learn their part well enough to record it at home with a parent who doesn't know anything about any of this for the
Mm-hmm.
most part, which I
And,
have to give a lot of props to the parents on that.
and I have a
But what
question
we
about the
found,
videos. Sorry, keep going. I have a question
okay, but
about how you do
what
it.
what we found was that they were learning their parts. And when we started getting the videos, we're like, they learned their part. And so, and then when we came together physically to start practicing the songs, they played together quickly after never, you know, these groups have never played together.
Hmm.
Because we've been off since a year ago.
Yeah.
So these particular two groups have not played together. And so they came together and they were able to put their parts together quickly. And so that's been a really gratifying thing about COVID, that you can get quality work done.
Yeah. And so with the videos, how have you done it as far as sending? So you send them a recording. Is the recording fully fleshed out? Are they hearing all the parts? Or are they just hearing one part? How are you doing that with them? Or has that changed over at times?
Well, what we learned was whatever part they're supposed to be playing has to be a little higher in the mix so
Mm-hmm.
that they can hear it, identify it
So
right
so they're
away.
doubling a part that's already in the mix.
Yes,
Okay.
yes. So we have what do we call them? Guide tracks.
Uh-huh.
So and they're made. McKenna makes them from Finale,
Mm-hmm.
um, and they're just they're the keyboard parts. So there's no drum parts on the
Mm-hmm.
guide track. So if you're playing a drum part, you you know, you have to, you know, there's a click going along, but there's no drum part to follow along to. You have to know your drum part to
Mm-hmm.
play. um, the other cool thing about this is there, you know, you have all different kinds of learners, right? You have the fast learners, you have the learners that are like really slow.
Mm-hmm.
Well, so we've been encouraging the faster learners, if you learn the part you were first assigned, learn another.
Yeah.
We got the beats like that anyway. I want kids to know more than one part.
Mm-hmm.
But so, you know, they're trained on both keyboard and drumming for every song. And so we just encourage them, hey, if you make more than one video, you're going to be on the video more than once, you
Mm-hmm.
know? And so there are some kids who actually record all the parts to all the songs. And so you see them a lot on our videos, and that's the carrot, that's the reward for going to all that effort of learning each part well enough to record. And you know, when you record, it's a lot different than playing live.
Yeah.
Um, and so, and then there are the ones that barely get part of their part out. And it's like, good, you got it. We're going to put you in,
Yeah.
you know? So um, I like that aspect too, is the kids have the time and it's like, okay, we're still on this song. We can only do one song at a time this way. So we're still on this one song. So if you want to not get bored, then you got to learn another part.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's just been great.
Yeah.
That's been really cool.
It's also great they're getting experience. Some of them probably haven't been playing to a metronome or to a click.
Correct.
So
Yes.
they're getting some timing training that they maybe, I mean, yes, playing organically with people is still that training in some ways, but it's different. So it'll be interesting to see what it's like when you all are all fully back together.
Yeah.
How that's changed things. I like to talk. I talk with people about a hybrid because I've been spending this year really working on online things, and I'm looking forward to doing things in person, but how can we take the best of both of those? And so I've been thinking a lot about that. Do you think you will still do the videos and do other elements of what you're doing now once you
I,
are fully in person?
uh, I don't, it would be hard to do the Zoom videos, I
Mm-hmm.
think, once we're back live.
Mm-hmm.
But in terms of videoing, once they learn a tune, we will probably do that. Um, yeah, it's really hard to do. I think it would be hard to do both.
Yeah.
Once all the kids are back together physically, and then telling them to go home and record their part.
Yeah. It's
Um,
asking a lot. Yeah.
I think it's asking a lot.
Yeah.
Um, but that's something we can talk about. How important is it for you guys to continue making Zoom videos? I mean, do you like that? Do you like that idea? Or we
Mm-hmm.
can make live videos.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think about, again, you have to know your part well enough. It's a little more forgiveness there if you make a little mistake, but you still have to know it well enough to really play.
Yeah.
But, so we'll see. We'll
Yeah.
have to see where it goes.
Well, Brenda, thank you so much for talking with me. And I had hoped we would talk about some of your teachers more, and that we just ended up talking about so many other things. So I'd love to talk with you another time more about your teachers and your influences, because I know that you've
Sure.
studied with a lot of great teachers, and
Yeah.
thank you everybody for tuning in.
Yes. Thank you.
Yeah, and if anyone wants to revisit this, it will be saved on the Sound and Rhythm page.
Cool.
That's the Sound and Rhythm Drumming
Awesome.
School page. And I just want to let people know I do this every Friday and also on other days. Next week is Rudy Shepard, who is a visual artist who also incorporates music. We went to college together in North Carolina, and he's doing some really cool things. So we're going to talk about art and music. Also, I believe it's the 17th of February. I mean, of March. Arthur Hall, who is one of
Oh,
the I think of him as kind of the one of the first drum circle facilitators, if
yeah.
not the first.
Yeah.
And and then also Jordan Perlson, who's a great drum set player here in Nashville, who used to be in New York. So anyway, so check out the page, and would love to have you tune into some other conversations. And Taku just commented, he's some clapping. So thank you, Taku, for tuning in.
Yeah. Thanks, Taku.
Yeah, and we got the beat. Check out what Brenda and her students that she's been working with are up to. And yeah, I hope to talk with you again, and have a great weekend.
Looking forward to it.